There are many ways your network can be accessed, not just remotely, but physically. How equipped are you and your coworkers to prevent intrusions? Today's guest is Jayson E. Jayson is author of Dissecting the Hack, the F0rb1dd3n Network Series. He is the DEFCON Groups Global Ambassador and the VP of InfoSec for SphereNY. He has spoken at DEFCON, DerbyCon, and several other cons and colleges with a variety of information security subjects. Jayson was also featured in the National Geographic series Breakthrough Cyber Terror, Robbing a Bank in Beirut, Lebanon. I'm your host, Chris Parker, and this is the Easy Prey Podcast. Jayson, thank you so much for coming on the Easy Prey Podcast today.
Hey, thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it, Chris.
Great. Can you give me and the audience a little bit of background as to who you are and what you do?
I am the VP of InfoSec for SphereNY, which is the boring way to say what I am. It's like I'm a hacker who likes to help people be better secure by robbing them and then giving them that experience and letting them understand what occurred and then teaching them to be better next time when an actual threat comes into their environment.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is definitely. I've had a lot of fun doing that. And I've also had a lot of fun getting caught, because on all my engagements, I make sure I get caught at least once to give a positive aspect of the engagement for the users.
So let's talk about that. Getting hired by the quote unquote victim, by the client. Let's get the terminology terminology correct. The client target hires you to rob them. Can you tell us what that's like?
Yes, it is. What it's usually doing is it's usually in tandem with a network-based penetration test. It is where people want to see, can you get in to our facility? And then can you actually convince a user to plug in a USB drive that might have a malicious payload on it? Or can you get secrets, or can you steal data? I go through my attack methods are very unconventional for most people that you would see as red teaming or penetration testing. I go in and I literally go, I'm going to be the worst thing to happen to you at the worst possible time in the worst possible way. I'm really great at parties. It's like I will figure out what I can steal from you, what kind of laptops are unsecured, what kind of other items are unsecured that I could then take with me. I then see how I could cause physical damage, how I could jeopardize human life by, do I have access to fire panels? Can I stop the fire systems? Is there anything combustible? I saw one area when I was doing a research facility, they had a very heavy glass in this quarantine chamber, but there was also these pipes leading out that had access to it. So I could then create some kind of explosion in those pipes that would then break the glass and then release whatever was contaminants that were in the quarantine area, which would have been hazardous. Or I see what kind of espionage I can do, what kind of information I can steal, what kind of IP that can be taken. So I do those kind of things, and I just really am a bad person as much as I possibly can be. It's like one of my mottos is "Let's go be bad guys" from Firefly, but then afterwards, after I've gone through that engagement, or not like after the whole report. I don't write like reports and memos that you're going to get 3 months later that something bad happened. I leave the facility 2 minutes later. I then come back. And then I educate the users exactly what occurred. It's like, hi, I just wanted you to know, it was nice of how you were doing. You were being very polite, but I was robbing you. I was a bad guy. And this is what you need to know for next time that someone tries to do what I just did.
That sounds incredibly crazy exciting. I know you have a story of a bank robbery gone bad. Can you give us the short version of that, and then we'll tell people where they can hear the long version of it?
Yes. Everybody wants to talk about the one wrong bank I robbed. No one talks about all the other banks that I robbed that I was supposed to rob. It's
we'll talk about that afterwards.
Okay, there you go. Because for the record, I've robbed a lot of banks successfully that were the ones I was supposed to rob. But the one that I did, it was quite humorous because it was the day before I was supposed to be filming for the National Geographic series Breakthrough. The episode 2, season 2 of their episode, where they go along and watch me as I rob a bank in Beirut. But it was for a different bank then at that point. But the day before, I was hired by another client to rob them as well, since I was in the neighborhood. And so Pepsi has gotten me into a lot of trouble because not because of drinking it, but because of its byproducts. I almost died peeing off a cliff in Bulgaria. And I mean, just all these different things that have occurred because it's like I had to go to the bathroom. I had to go to the bathroom really bad in Beirut. So the guy told me, it's like, go down this way. It's the bank there on the right. It's like, you should be fine. And I'm walking down the sidewalk and I'm just like looking into each stall because I would like to be able to find a place before the actual client, before I just go, because I always attempt to go to the bathroom or tell someone that I need to go to the bathroom, but that is usually a pretense to get away from the main area so I can then explore. And I get lost in the bathroom to go into the bathroom for hours sometimes. But this time I genuinely needed to go to the bathroom immediately. And so I then saw the door and I was like, I could not get to a place. And then I saw the door that it's like, I saw teller lines. It's a bank. I walk in. I did not look at any of the signage or anything. I just needed to find the bathroom. In Europe and most other countries, it's like, including the Middle East, it's like the bathrooms are usually in the basement or the second floor. So it's like I just started looking for stairs. And it's like I just walked in like I knew what I was doing and I was in a hurry because I was, which actually helped my pretense very well. And then I went up the stairs. It was on the second floor. I did what I needed to do. I come back out feeling very happy and refreshed. And there's some people right there at their desk. Let me rob them first. And then I just immediately started. I plugged in my device. It was a rubber ducky from Hack5. Darren Kitchen was also on this engagement. He's a brilliant hacker and creator of tools for security awareness and penetration. And he did, it's like this rubber ducky looks like a regular USB drive, but it emulates a keyboard. So while you think you're plugging in a USB drive, it's like the computer thinks that it is plugging in a keyboard, and you already have pre-programmed all the keys. Anything that you can do on a computer does not require a mouse. It can be done by key commands that can all be pre-programmed first. So thousands of lines of code can happen in seconds. It's like, and that's what this does. Thousands of lines of codes in seconds is an exaggeration, but it's like it can be very fast to execute these payloads. Mine, since I'm doing a security awareness engagement, and I do not like to make people feel threatened after the fact that I could have compromised them or that I could have stolen data, my payloads are always harmless, which is one of the key reasons that kept me out of jail. Because mine was you plugged it in, Notepad opened, and it automatically typed, security audit completed. Thank you for your participation, smiley face. And then that's it. That's all it did. And then you can just unplug it and you say, okay, the audit was done. Thank you very much. That's all we needed to do. And then I go to the next one. By the third one, the person was like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, goody. It's like this person's questioning me. I'm not going to give it up right now. It's like I let them go as far as they can to see exactly what will happen. So I was like, oh, I'm here with Microsoft. It's like I have a Microsoft badge. I love employees that post their badges on social media. Going to Instagram and typing in hashtag new badge or new job is one of the reasons why people in information security drink. It's like, and so I was like, no, I'm with Microsoft. It's like, we're doing an audit on this. It's like, well, you need to talk to the supervisor. I'm like, okay, no problem. I have a forged email on an iPad that I create always. It's like for a pretense of what I'm supposed to be doing there. And so I show them the supervisor, the forged email. It's coming from the CEO. It's going to the CEO from the it's coming from the CEO to the CFO, who then sent it to myself and my supervisor, telling me what I needed to do. So they read it, and it was very convincing. I did all this research in Recon called OSINT on the bank, so I know who all the employees were. I knew all the things that were going on, and the supervisor reads it, and it's like, okay, I understand what you're doing now. This is for the bank next door. What did you do to our computers? And I am very good at quick thinking on my feet. I've had guns pointed at me. I've had situations that were very hostile, and I'm very good at thinking. My only words out of my mouth at that point was, "This is unfortunate." I literally, for the first time and you can talk to my friends, I think for the first time in decades, I did not have anything to say. I had no response, except for that it was unfortunate. 7 minutes later or so, I'm in the back of the manager's office with about 7 people speaking Arabic very angrily around me, which made me slightly nervous. And I panicked again. And I was like, no, it's fine. It's like I was doing an audit. This was like for security. It's like, don't worry about it. It's like, look, it's a harmless payload. And I plugged the computer into the USB into the manager's computer so the notepad would pop up so they could see, it's just notepad. And then I turn around and I realize, oh, yeah, I just compromised another computer, but with more witnesses this time. That does not look good. And then it proceeded to get worse from there, and I ended up in the main headquarters of the building for the bank, talking to the IT security team, who were dead set on the fact that I'd sent a malware payload, which I had explained to them what was going on, and then I'd explained to the supervisor what was going on, and they understood finally. And it is sort of, I do not like to say this often. It's like, because sounds very arrogant, but in that situation, I thought it was more than suited to save myself, that I literally told them, it's like, you can Google me. This is what I do. And so usually that's very horrible when people do that. But it's like, this one was very necessary because they were able to actually Google me and see what I was doing and what I've done. And that I was not just a criminal. I was, but it's like I was not like a typical criminal that they would face. And by the time that it done, I was talking, I was laughing, I was making jokes, I was trying to be as harmless and adorable as I could be. I tell people I don't do APT, Advanced Persistent Threats. I think that's ridiculous. APT stands for Adequate Phishing Techniques. I do bad, basic, adorable destruction. That's what I do. So I was trying to be all that. By the time the call was over, the CIO was talking to the CIO, the one who actually hired me to rob his bank. They were talking on the phone, and they alternate in Lebanon. They'll alternate between French, Arabic, and English. So it's like, so I was picking up a little bit. It's like, and finally, the one thing that I did find that gave me relief was when he said, "So do I have to share the bill now?" And I was like, it was then when he said that I realized, okay, it's like, I think I've explained it all. I think it's all done. And so they let me go, and I did not breathe easy until I was on a plane to Paris. It's like, to be honest with you, it's like I was there for like 3 or 4 more days. I was still very nervous because I found out the next day that branch that I was in actually did a forensic wipe on all their machines. They closed early that day, and they did a forensic wipe on all the machines. And I was like, that was very good procedure. It's like, I'm not mad at them, but that probably cost some money, and they probably weren't too happy with me. So I'm very glad that I got out, and I'm very glad that they were understanding about it.
Yeah, that's it's very fortunate that I would be particularly concerned about it being in a foreign country, because they're like, well, you're not a national of this country.
Oh, yes. I like to challenge. Most of my places do happen in other countries. It's like I go from I go and do a lot of foreign places. I do some in America, but for some reason, it's like I've been doing. I like to do exciting. It's like I have the luxury of choosing. It's like, okay, I'll take this client or I'll take this client. It's like, and I like them to be interesting and unusual. And if I do it in the U.S., it's got to be unusual. It's like I had a problem. I had one where it's like I really wanted to do this one engagement, but my boss found out that it was part of a arms deal to South America from the U.S. And I was like, dude, I would give them a discount for that. That sounds even cooler. Let's do it. And he's like, no one wants, no, it turns out no one that's a stakeholder in a company wants to be involved in a U.S. arms deal to South America, unless, they're part of the military or DOD or consulting or in another industry. So yeah, that was very disappointing. But yeah, so yeah, I try to keep them interesting.
That's definitely interesting, and I know you've told a longer story over with Jack Raysider at Dark Deck Diaries, right?
That is correct. Episode 6. Yes.
Okay, we'll make sure to throw that in the show notes for those who want to listen to it. They can click on it and hear the full story there. So it was interesting that you're talking about that you were able to plug the USB drive into multiple machines before someone even said, wait, what are you doing? Before, like, that baffles me that you were able to get to, like, interact with multiple employees before they even questioned what you were doing.
Oh no, I've been doing this for 10 years or so. I have a 100% success rate. It's like even when I get caught now, and even when I get unintentionally caught, I still manage to at least get one machine compromised. I still manage to get one USB into a device. The quickest it took me to actually deploy a rubber ducky was around 15 seconds. And that was actually on video. Darren Kitchen was nice enough to get the footage of that, the body footage of that from the National Geographic, where they showed me from walking in the front door to plugging in a device. And I compromised that whole entire branch on that one. That was good. And then, for me, not for them.
Yeah.
and then, but yeah, I have been able to get the devices like in so many different places, and it's like just quickly. It's like to get full access.
So you talked about what's the quickest one. What was the longest one, and why did it take so long?
The longest one was I was robbing a financial institution in Kingston, Jamaica, and they had a very I did a lot of recon. I did more recon on that. People don't realize 90% of your engagement should be reconnaissance. It should be researching and doing it. Me, on the other hand, I do what I call the YOLO method, where it's like I promise the client that I will do no more than 2 hours on Google to find out the information that I need to try to compromise them. I do that because I think that clients get a false sense of security when they hear all the eliteness that their team's done and the 0 days they popped. I want them to realize when that I show up, I am the least common denominator. It's like, this is so easy that even I can do it. You should be severely afraid.
Yeah, it's the concept that if I can do this with 2 hours of research, can you imagine what someone would do with weeks or months of planning?
Exactly. And then they can explain away going a report from an elite pen tester or red teamer, and they say, oh, well, we're safe then because you guys are like so advanced. Everything's like, we don't have to worry about you guys. You guys, of course, you're going to get in. I tell them, it's like I walked in off the street. I had no idea who anybody's was. And as you can tell, it took me 2 minutes and 22 seconds, and I had full access to your bank for 30 minutes. It's like, that is terrifying. And so that gets action. So this one in Jamaica, it literally took me an hour and 45 minutes, the longest I've ever taken to do research and recon on a facility. And I realized that I had to go in because their headquarters is it's their lobby is a man trap. You have to be buzzed in from the street. Then you get into the office, the waiting office area, the reception area, where there's an armed guard and a receptionist. It's like, and then a nice couch and a fern or something, I guess, and then another secured door. It's like, so you have to get through them to get to the other area, and that goes into the atrium. So at first I go in, it's like I realized that my only way that I was going to rob these people is robbing the charity organization that they have in their organization. They have a whole different charity-run organization, and it's across the street, their headquarters, but they're on the same network. People don't realize. People think physically instead of logistically. I robbed a treasury once in the United States where their headquarters were also well fortified, but they had a satellite office about 30 to 50 miles away in a regular office building. The network was on the same. I might as well have been sitting next to the treasurer in that office over there, but they didn't see it that way until I showed up and compromised that building. And so the same thing happened here. Their network was shared, so that was actually within my scope. So I went in as a TV producer, doing an episode on companies that are doing the community good in their areas, and it was one of the most shameful things I've ever done. I was very embarrassed. It was the only time I did not go back to talk to the clients. The person who was hiring me, Alan Nooks, it's like he had to handle that, and my colleague who was invaluable during the pen test, Michael Knight. It's like we did we did all that stuff and all the, but it was not preparing me for the actual feeling of like, I just can't believe I compromised these people. I was going to put them on television. I started believing it halfway through. I thought I was going to like put them on television. It's like it was very. Yeah, but I was able to get it in. But that was one of the most difficult ones to get. They were very secure. They were very well locked down. And if they're even more so now, I would be terrified to try to attack them now.
Yeah, I have to assume it feels bad to like go in and lie to a charity trying to
yes
to
don't
get the
lying.
entity associated with the charity.
Yeah. I don't mind lying to people, honestly, in my profession. I tell people I lie for a living. I don't do it for free. So I'm very unfiltered. So you have to be careful what questions you ask me. But I'm helping them. I'm doing them a service. I've never that was the only time I thought, because I got so convinced and I got so wrapped up in the story that I oversold it. But usually it's like I don't feel bad because it was bad, but I was there to help them. I talked to a person who I'd compromised years ago. We just had a conversation, I think last week, and they were telling me why they hated me so much. Because I'd worked with them since then. It's like, and I noticed that they'd always, but then they wanted to call me. They called me to ask me for some help on something, and we started talking, and it was so great because for all this time they were hating me because the way that they said it was because I lost to you, and I hate losing, and I was so happy because I was like, oh, you got it wrong. You're misunderstanding what occurred. Let me fix that. You won. I was not your competitor. I was not something that you were winning against. I was the teacher. I taught you that lesson. You just said just earlier before you said that, you said how you became more vigilant, how you became more active and like making sure no one got past you again. You won. That's what you did. It's like, that was not a loss. It's like, there's a Christian rapper named Lecrae that I listen to, and he's like, I take the L's, but they're never a loss. They're a lesson. It's like, I gave you the lesson. I didn't give you a loss. I gave you the lesson, and you won because you took it and learned from it. That's what people need to understand when these pen test kind of things happens. I'm not your adversary. I'm your advocate. I'm there to help you.
That's a great way of looking at it, and I'm sure that helps your clients to feel like, okay, this is a learning experience rather than a security failure in a sense.
Yeah, no, I do not do red teaming. I do not do pen testing. I only do security awareness engagements. I frame it that way so they know from the get-go I am not going to be reporting people who failed. I am not going to be documenting those things. I am there to educate people once something has happened. And in every engagement that I do, it is 100% guaranteed that I will get caught, even if I have to unplug a machine during the business hours of a bank, which I had done to convince someone they should question me why I'm taking their server out of their bank. It's like, but I gave them the win. Yeah. It's like I had a telecom company that will never hire me again because the CEO demanded in the scope of engagement that I recorded all the names of people who clicked on the phishing link, and that I had to be successful. And I was from 1 to 100. I could choose whoever I wanted. It's like, so at the end of the engagement, I gave him the report. I only targeted one person. It was him, the CEO, and he clicked the link. And it's like, and I showed him, it's like, this is not a good test. was a gotcha. It's like you need to help educate them and let them know what's going on. He took that somewhat well, but I don't think I'll be back.
Yeah. So what are some of the reoccurring themes and lessons that you're teaching your clients?
The biggest things that people can do to protect themselves is there is a voice in the back of your head that we don't listen to. It's the one that says, this seems odd. This seems unusual. But humans don't like to think something bad is going to happen. They need to realize when you're at work, part of your job and your responsibility is to think something bad may happen, that computer is just like if a delivery person had a van and they kept crashing the van, they would be fired. If you kept clicking links and jeopardizing the company's security, you could get fired. There are repercussions for that. So you have to be cautious. I always get emails. I always get attachments. But do I get this kind of attachment from this person? Why did they send that to me? And it's like, and then just call them on the phone and confirm before you click on the link. Say, hey, I just got this weird attachment, or I just got this email from you saying I was supposed to do that. Did that really come from you? That shows them that you're very secure conscious, that you care about what you're doing. And it also helps promote security for everything else. So question that and then act on it. And also companies need to give a proper avenue for employees to feel comfortable to report something. They have to have an extension available and an email address that people's like forward any suspicious emails to us. Call us if you see someone strange in the building. If someone tries to come up to your desk, they say they're from the help desk or they're from IT. It's like call headquarters, call this number and question if they're supposed to be there. I would be stopped so much more frequently if that one thing was in place. But they don't do that.
Yeah, there was back before I started working for myself, there was a company I was working for, and I got an email from the building owner basically saying, yeah, kind of along the same lines, if people come into your office and you don't recognize them, you need to, either call the police or stop them, because they had a rash of people walking into offices with a clipboard. And
Yep.
they'd walk in the front door, they'd decide they know where the exit on the far end of the room is. They come in and just walk with the sense of, I belong here. And they'd wait till they were walking down the aisle past someone's desk where their purse or their phone was, and they'd grab it and just continue, and they'd walk out the door. And everyone was like, well, the person looked like they belong here. Well, did you know them? No. but they seemed to know where they were going.
There was a story from decades ago in Houston, Texas, where a gentleman stole hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. He went down the aisles with a cart and was literally stealing printers and computers and purses and devices and stuff, going to his van in the loading dock, loading it up, and then coming back. I have a clipboard as well. I'm installing 2 different mini cameras in it. It already has an RFID scanner in it, so I can clone badges, and it also has a Wi-Fi pineapple that is a malicious access point to make people connect to it. So, and that's in my clipboard. So, and I also have envelopes, which are the most scariest ones, because that envelope is blank with a marker just next to it. I look at cubicles that are unattended. I take a blank envelope, I write the name of that person on it, and then I take one of my malware USB devices that will call back out and do to a page that's harmless, but it will record that it was clicked. And I will then put it in that USB drive in there and put it on their desk. Almost 100% success rate on those.
Is there a note like saying, hey, plug this in? Or is it just...
No, just their name and a USB drive.
Oh, I would be like, why is this here?
It's like, but obviously you're in a safe environment. The worst thing than no security is the false sense of security people have when they're inside their office environment, when they're at their cubicles. And the more harder your security is externally, or what it appears to be, the easier it is to betray trust once you're in.
Yeah. It makes me think of like going to marketing conferences like 10 years ago. Everyone used to have all their marketing collateral on a USB drive at the trade shows. And they're like, oh, here's a USB drive. And I'm like, no.
That's exact. That's
Like
Stuxnet.
it's like even if you didn't put something like bad on there have been USB drives shipped from manufacturers with malware on them. I'm not sticking that in my computer. I don't know where that thing's been.
Exactly. There have been countless things where people do that. It's like they'll get vendors USB drives that are giveaways, grab them by the handful, take off, then go up malware, put malware on it, weaponize it, and then go and drop them back in the bowl.
Yeah, to me, like anything that can be plugged into your computer, if you didn't buy it yourself, you shouldn't be plugging it into your computer. I freak out about that kind of stuff.
100%. I use virtual environments. I have like all my social media is on a browser in a different virtual machine and on a different OS. I have another VM that does my emails, and I have another VM that does my research. I mean, I have VMs for all these different things. I mean, my machine also has 128 gigs of RAM because it takes a lot to do all these VMs. But yeah, it's like I have multiple VMs because I don't want anything too much on the host machine except for my video games and like Skype for video calls and things like that.
Yeah, it's assume that the device will be compromised at some point.
100% assume compromise. Once we start understanding that our blue teams and defenses, blue teams are the people who are the defenders, red teams are the ones that go after. But to assume that because I was in this old paradigm back in the early 2000s and late 90s where it's like we needed to build bigger walls. We needed bigger defenses. We needed that defense in depth. We now need to realize that they're now parachuting over the walls. How fast can you detect? How fast can you respond to the incident? Those are the two key factors for the survivability of a company now. Not being able to defend against it, not being able to have all the latest and greatest blinky boxes out there that will defend your perimeter. It's like, how quickly can you detect a compromise and how quickly can you respond to it are going to be the key indicators of success.
That to me, like that resonates really well with me because it's that mentality of as soon as you think that you are 100% safe is where you're in trouble. You like you said,
Definitely.
you think your wall's high enough that you don't care if someone ultimately does pull over the wall and gets in, they've got access to everything because I was just worried about the wall.
I did an engagement early on when I started doing it, and the sit down with the networking team was so arrogant. They were like, "Yeah, you can't get in. We've got this layers. We've got these layers," and they were correct. Their external defenses were amazing. In the hotel room, I launched an Nmap scan. It's like it just started hitting all their IP addresses, and then at 5:30, I went into the main office. They had a visitor bowl of badges because the receptionist leaves. So they put a bowl on the desk and you just drop your badge in. It's still active. It hasn't been deactivated because no one's there. I take one of those. That gets me into the front door. Cleaning crew got me everywhere else. The next day, I do it was a couple of days, but it's like I'm doing the exit interview. The CEO is very upset. It's like the network people seem very happy. Because they realized that I did not get in through their network. And then the CEO has in front of them a folder with the printouts of the emails that I sent them from unlocked workstations and all the pictures from all the different places that I had access to compromise their network.
Yeah, you didn't get in through the network, but you still got all the goodies.
Yeah, and I was still on your internal network. It's like I still bypassed everything. I don't have to bypass the firewall if I can bypass your receptionist. It's like, so, yeah.
So you talked about kind of response times to once you've been compromised. What do you see as kind of what's normal once a company has realized someone has broken into our network or accessed stuff that they shouldn't? What's kind of the normal time that companies take to be able to deal with that?
I think currently right now it's anywhere from 6 months to a year to do it. It's like, and that's for also when it starts when they first detect that, which is usually being generous 6 months out after the compromise. We don't have enough people questioning and understanding when the compromise occurs. We have access to the best intrusion detection system on the planet that we never utilize. Security never utilizes, and that's our users. Mm-hmm. They do the same job over and over and over again every day. They know when an anomaly happens, but we don't train them. You can't put in a snort box and just leave it with the default rules and say that you've got an IDS system. You've got to fine tune that. We have to start tuning and explaining and educating our users what to be aware of, and then empowering them, being a good force and a positive force in interaction with them. If they only interact with security when something bad goes on, they do not want to talk to you. When I was in law enforcement, I met everybody on their worst possible day.
Yeah.
Something just bad happened to them, so I showed up. I just showed up, something bad about to happen to them. It was never a good day for them. It's so if you don't start making other positive changes and other positive things by doing raffles for security audits, it's like doing giving rewards for people who do the right thing, who catch a phishing attempt, who do things like that. If you don't start making it more positive, then you're not going to get any progress. But as soon as you start teaching them and understanding what it's in for them, how they benefit from it, then you've got the most insane defense system that you can have. It's and it's not a blinky box. It's actually the human saying, this looks suspicious, I'm going to call someone. And that's your response.
It's almost like running an internal bug bounty program or a bounty program internally.
Exactly. My a friend of mine, a colleague, also Ben 10, he told me one where he saw a company where they actually do that. It's every quarter they give away $2,000. It's around $2,000. So if you want to be entered into that contest, you need points. You need tickets. You get tickets by reporting a fish. You get tickets by stopping someone who was tailgating. You get tickets from reporting something suspicious. If it was an actual fish, you may get 10 tickets. If it was a person that was just, they had, but you got more and more tickets. So it never got over 2,000. The company got to manage their budget, but the participants would steadily increase over time when people realized there was money on the line, something for them.
It's about that positive experience. You made intrusion defense or intrusion detection. You made cybersecurity a positive response for people, as opposed
gamification.
To, hey, you didn't report this, so we're going to slap you on the wrist, or you didn't do this, we're going to slap you on the wrist. We're now going to reward you. Do the gamification for doing the right thing.
Exactly. I've taught a class on at Black Hat about that. It's how to create a security awareness program by social engineering your employees and then educating them afterwards.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's a good business model. We're going to we're going to gamify your network security.
Yep. There was another one where they did one where they would have a user who volunteered and had to keep secret, but he would get a new badge that had all the same access, but they changed his picture to Waldo. And the competition was, if you found Waldo during that quarter, said you got the prize. And so people started looking at badges more. People made sure people were wearing their badges and wearing them properly. It's because there was something in it for them.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, there are a couple places that I've worked where we've had badges, and I don't know whether it was intentional or just the way the badges were built. They almost always flipped around so that the name and the face was facing in, and it was just the white badge facing out, and no one ever went oh, who's that? Or let me see your badge. No one ever asked.
Yep. I had one place where they had that, where they had a lanyard, colored lanyard to show them their plate, but the badge was blank. And so I actually had a different kind of badge, and I just put that in there, and one time I did it with just paper. It was if you looked in the folding thing, it was just a white piece of paper, because no one looks.
That strikes me as it would be really easy to recreate for companies that have kind of fairly innocuous badges, like you said, that to look on Instagram for, hey, I got my new badge. Okay, now I know what it's supposed to look like.
That is sad, yeah.
Or for the matter of, you could probably just print the company logo and your face on something, and people will just assume it's a badge. Oh, he's just got one of those old style badges, or it's a new badge.
I've had friends and colleagues who have printed me badges instantly within an hour of finding it on Instagram to go and compromise the company the next day. I currently have, thanks to my friend Philippe Titon, it's like he actually I have a Cisco badge. I have the new and old Microsoft badge. I also have an FBI CIA badge. I would never use those on an engagement, for the record, for anybody listening. And I have like several other Oracle badge. I have all these different employee badges. I actually called it the stir when I actually put up the Cisco badge showing it because they were not happy with that. But yeah, all of them look legit like the employee badge. But they are not. And Skydog also gave me a couple of those badges too. But yeah, so those are. But yeah, those it's quite scary. It's under $500, I believe, for a badge maker off of Amazon.com.
I would be surprised if it's even that amount of money.
Yes,
because there's, you're trying to make it cheap for businesses to have badges, so let's make the products really. You don't want to barrier to entry for a little mom and pop company to have to spend $10,000 to create their badges.
That is correct.
So okay, so I had asked this of another physical pen tester, and I'll ask the question that hopefully no one has asked you before. What was the least interesting or most boring successful robbery? Let's use that word.
My most successful
where things were just like, oh, I just walked right in and like whatever.
If you don't mind, I think one of the boring was I think the most boring one was when I just robbed the bank within 15 seconds, and the manager, I did a crosstalk attack between the person handing me off to the manager. So he thought that they vetted me. That person thought he was going to vet me, and no one vetted me. And so he escorted me through the whole building, even making an employee that was on a break to come back, unlock his workstation so I could get 100%. And he also personally walked me to the data server and let me in. But I would like to comment on what my most successful, that was not my most successful engagement. That was my most boring one. But my most successful engagement occurred January of 2020 last year. It's like I'm in the before times, right before everything went down. But I got caught. And I'm telling you, it was great. I went there the year before in 2019, and I destroyed them. I got access to everything. I went through. I found a way in through the freight elevator. They've never been penetrated before, but I found a way to circumvent their security in the dock and in the elevator, the freight elevator. They're all looking for public interface. So it's like I always try to go for the freight elevator. And so I get in there, I do a phone attack. It's like where I'm actually on the phone. And then when a person comes in through, because they still had a door locked there, and as soon as someone goes by, it's like I just say, oh, no, someone's coming. Here's someone right now. They'll let me in. You don't have to come down. I'll just go in with him. And then they feel like they were vetted, like, oh, someone was already coming. I'm saving them a trip. Also, you listen very quietly. It's like, because people walk by, motion sensor goes off on the other side because U.S. regulations, the door has to unlock to a motion sensor internally. So then you just open up the door, and you must have had a badge to get in. So I went through them like butter. It was very disturbing for those people. But they learned. I gave them my lessons. I told them what happened, and then management took it to heart. Management started driving security awareness programs. Management started making sure the employees understood what had occurred and why they needed to do better, and how that it was a learning experience. And the employees listened. So I show up the next year, and as soon as I get into the lobby, the receptionist's like, it's like, I'm here to see this person. It's like, and I acted like I was walking in, and they're like, excuse me, you need to register. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, here. I'm just signing in. I'm just seeing this person. Like, It's like, and I was like, they give me a badge. I was like, okay. And I start walking up. Excuse me, that you got to wait for them to come down and get you. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's like locking me down. It's like this was a new receptionist from the year before. This person did not know who I was. They weren't doing it because they recognized me. They were legit. That was policy. I was able to get in. I was like, oh, I need to go to the restroom real quick. Always have to go to the restroom. So that was in a security area. So they had to unlock that door there. So I walk in, and instead of going left, I turned right down the hallway. I compromised 2 machines very quickly. So I did get a success. But then I noticed as I was doing that, I saw someone sort of looking at me. And so I could have then gone down the stairwell, but I'm not there to get escape. I'm there to get caught. I'm there to see what else occurs. So I walk back. The person who was supposed to meet me sees me, and he says, "Yeah, she already saw you on the camera and was reporting you that you deviated from where you're supposed to be." And so I was like, "Perfect." And then I did. Now that was established, I started doing some of the other sections to see what I could. In every section, yeah, I was able to compromise maybe 1 or 2, but in every section of that in that organization, someone questioned me. Someone stopped me and said, "Excuse me." It's like, "I don't think you're supposed to be here." It's like, "I would need to contact IT." Every single time. That was a zero compromise environment, because even if you could have escaped, they would have known that those machines were compromised, and they would have been able to. It was wonderful. It was the best engagement I've ever been on, because I got caught all the time. And if you're not rooting for your client, you're in the wrong business. People forget. It's like red teamers have this rock star mentality, like they're coming in as the big bad breakers and ninjas. Your only existence for a red team and purpose is to make the blue teams better, to make your clients better. It's not to break them. It's never been to expose weakness. It has been to help them and help them be more secure and help them learn from what you discover. It's like you're there as their advocates, not their adversary. You're there to make sure they get better. And if you can go in the next year and get in through all the same ways and do all the same things, you failed. It's like that's not a success. That's sad.
Yeah, it's kind of a success for you is when you go back and you fail.
Exactly. I'm literally smart. It was still brings, I usually celebrate ice cream when I compromise somebody, because they learned and I learned, and I got to win, and I like to celebrate with ice cream. I got a huge thing of ice cream because I was so ecstatic. That was the best success that I've ever had. It was amazing.
That's awesome. I think that's a great spot to finish up, because that really is like the mentality I would love to see, just in the way that people look at security, of like, hey, we improved and that was the goal. My client is better.
Exactly.
They've learned. No one's going to be perfect, but they've made progress, and we can celebrate that they've made progress.
Yes.
So if people want to find you and your company, where can they find you?
They can find. I'm all over the internet. I live tweet my life. Unfortunately, sometimes because I don't filter. But on Twitter at Jayson Street, Jayson Street. But also my website has most of my stuff. Jayson E Street.com. And I also own the with the misspelling JASON because it's not common, but I got that one too. So it's like, it'll still get to that site that has a lot more information than you probably want to know about me. But yeah, those are the 2 main things. It's like, I mean, I'm out there. It's like, I'm very public with my life. But I'm there to help. And it's like, and I want people to know more about that stuff. So
that's totally awesome. Jayson, thank you so much for coming on the Easy Prey podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I really did enjoy this conversation.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Easy Prey podcast. If you found this episode helpful or something actionable, please share in a comment by visiting easyprey.com/review. Notes and a transcript of this episode with Jayson Street can be found at easyprey.com/76.